in the morning and the evening adhkar. As the believers should not look at the adhkar as mere duties that we just have to fulfill it and that's it. No. As a matter of fact, reflecting on what you say makes you the happiest person on earth. If I ever miss the dua of Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, I know why am I being upset. I know why do I feel sad. I know why do I have a problem, whether at home or in the bus, and in the car, in the traffic. It is seriously because of me. I'm missing some ingredients, as Sheikh McCarthy was just talking about the ingredients. Yes, you're missing some ingredients, you're not going to get the same test. Basically, you fulfill the components of the equation, wallahi, Allah definitely will deliver. And that's why I just remember the statement of the great Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy on him, when he was saying that what would my enemy think that they can hurt me with? He really gave them a very hard time. They gave up with him. Somebody who's not afraid of anything. They threw him in prison. He's still writing and authoring books and giving fatwa. He's such a great scholar. He's like an ocean of knowledge. So when they threw him by himself in a cell in the middle of nowhere, in a citadel in Damascus, he said, what do my enemy think that they can do to me? Indeed, my garden, my happiness is in my heart. Look at the difference between somebody's happiness which comes in his stomach versus somebody's happiness which is in the heart. Accordingly, the difference will shape the future and the behavior and the action of the individual. So he said, if my enemies, and by the way, those enemies happen to be Muslim rulers. It was the Muslim rulers who threw Ahmad ibn Hanbal in jail, and Ibn al-Qayyim in prison, and Al-Imam Malik was tortured. You know who's Al-Imam Malik? Imamu Ahli Sunnah, Imam al-Madinah. لا يفتى مالك في المدينة. He was hung from his arms until they were paralyzed. Al-Imam Malik ibn Anas. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i was beaten up and thrown in prison. Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him. Al-Imam Abu Hanifa was thrown in prison. Then he was banned from speaking or teaching. He was banned from communicating or even attending the prayer in the masjid. He was put in home arrest. Why? Guess what? Because he refused to accept the position of the chief judge. Chief judge in a Muslim ummah, what an honor. He said no, because I know these rulers are not just rulers. So they might ask me to put my stamp or seal to execute somebody or to kill somebody or to misjudge somebody. So I will be responsible for that. But it is not you, you're just an employee and you are the chief judge. He said no. He refused. The Imam, the Khalifa or the President, Abu Ja'far, forced him, he refused. So he was beaten up, he was thrown in prison. All these Imams have been mistreated mainly by some Muslim rulers. They do not necessarily mean that they were always bad, but they have some incidents, and these guys held fast on their deen for the sake of Allah. They did not mind being beaten up, thrown in prison, arrested, or being banned from teaching or giving the dars, or to the extent being executed. Sa'id ibn Jubayr, may Allah have mercy on him, one of the masters of At-Tabi'in, and that was so close to the life of the companions and the Prophet ﷺ just a few years after, during the Umayyad Khilafah, when Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqfi decided to execute him. He said, I'm going to replace your life with hell. He said, oh really? If I know that you control hell and heaven, I would have worshipped you instead of Allah. He said, I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm going to take your life. He said, well, if you do so, let me quote the beautiful phrase of somebody who's been threatened to be killed. Look at the courage. Look at the strength of Iman and the steadfastness. He said, إِذَنْ تُفْسِدُ عَلَيَّ دُنْيَاي وَأُفْسِدُ عَلَيْكَ آخِرَتَكَ. You're going to kill me? You're going to ruin my life? Well, you're going to ruin my life, but I'm going to ruin your hereafter. Which one is more dangerous? Which one is more everlasting? You're going to take my life, you're not going to kill me missing a moment of my life. لِكُلِّ أَجَلٍ كِتَابٍ. I'm going to die on this time, No one is going to kill me or cause me to die before it. So if you're going to kill me, because it's my term, so I will die. You ruin my life, but for sure, I would definitely ruin your akhirah. He said, choose for yourself a way to be killed. He said, rather you choose for yourself. Because whichever mean you kill me with in this life, I'm going to kill you with it in the hereafter before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He drove him crazy. Sa'id ibn Jubayr is arrested, is handcuffed. Perhaps they fasten his hands and feet as well, maybe his neck as well. And he's a great scholar, he's one of at-tabi'een. But his heart is very powerful. His iman is very strong. And that's why he feared not Al-Hajjaj. Al-Hajjaj was in control, was in power, he had everything, but he was afraid of Sa'id ibn Jubayr. Subhanallah. Then when he said, just execute him, he said, Ya Allah, do not let him kill anyone after me. And subhanallah, Allah answered the dua of Sa'id ibn Jubayr, may Allah be pleased with him, one of the leaders of At-Tabi'een, radiyallahu anhum. A few days later, Al-Hajjaj died. But on death, he did not sleep for a single night. On every single occasion, whenever he's so tired, exhausted, so he goes to bed. Once he closes his eyes, Sa'id ibn Jubayr would appear to him and he will drag him from his feet. Sa'id is already dead, but he's alive with his Lord. But the dead are the coward ones, are those who are persecuting the living. And they think by killing the innocent people and the scholars and the courageous ones that they ruin their lives. Nay, wallahi, they did not ruin their lives. I swear to Allah, we envy them because they are in a better life. But the criminals, the perpetrators, the coward ones, even if they're rulers, even if they're presidents, kings or sultans or whoever, they're living in fear. And this is nothing compared to the actual treatment which begins soon after they meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they are being brought to account. Ibn Taymiyyah says, what are they going to do to me? Throw me in prison? Thank you so much, you're giving me some privacy. I can study and author. You're going to kick me out of my country, which is exile. Thank you. At least I have the opportunity to wander around and see other places and other countries. Siyaha, free tourism. You're going to kill me, which is worst come to worst, that is the worst case scenario you think? No, wallahi, it is not. وَقَتْلِي شَهَادَةً. And even if you kill me, that is the beginning of the eternal life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Maria, but this time from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Maria, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, Sheikh.
Naam, go ahead.
Please, Sheikh, like last Ramadan, not this one that passed a year ago, I missed some fastings. So I was going to make up, but I became sick and I had to drink lots of water. I started making up, but then I stopped, like remaining 4 I didn't complete. Then I fasted. Then Ramadan came again and I didn't finish making up. So after that, I realized that if I had like tried and took some nuts, I would have been able to make up. And I made up eventually. Is there any fault in what I did? Like, should I have fast myself before the Ramadan to finish?
Okay, barakallah feek. Thank you, Sister Maria from Nigeria. Basically, if any person missed any days in Ramadan, such as being sick or traveling, breastfeeding, or giving birth or after giving birth or due to the period, for whatever reason, they must make up those days. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Those number of days must be made up before the following Ramadan. Aisha radiyallahu anha, and the hadith is collected by Imam al-Bukhari, said that I used to make up my missed days of Ramadan in Sha'ban of the next year. Yani a few days before the following Ramadan. But before the following Ramadan, you should make up those days. What about if I have an excuse such as I was also sick, or I was still breastfeeding, or I didn't have a chance due to legitimate reasons? If it is so, then you still make up those days after the following Ramadan, and you're not blameworthy. You will be only blameworthy if out of laziness you did not make up those days. Now, if there was no valid excuse, the person was lazy, was negligent, and the next Ramadan has entered and he or she did not make up the days of the previous Ramadan which they missed, the scholars have different opinions, two different opinions. Some scholars say with no excuse, then they must make up those days in addition to compensating for this sin by giving a fidya, feeding one miskin per each day. There is another group of scholars who said that is missing a reference or a proof. When I legislate and when I say you have to give a fidya, they must be supported with a reference. So accordingly, they said we still abide by the original condition. Yes, the person will be committing a sin, they should seek forgiveness, but they are only required to fast only to make up those days and not to give